why do you, again, with jobs, why do you want to take on the whole process? I look at this as two things. It's like you said, it's the lead generation, and then it's the back end where you go look at the properties. Why not just pick one or the other, especially if you got a day job, and just focus on one? In the marketing in particular, because again, right in this market, I tell anybody that's listening, I'm trying to scream it from the rooftops, motivated sellers make this world go round, and the guy that finds the leads makes the money. The wholesalers can't do anything unless they get the motivated seller lead. So if you're good at finding seller leads, you could always get a check somehow.
What's up, y'all? Trevor here with Carrot, and I've got a podcast episode coming at you that I'm really excited about. Dennis, who I'm going to introduce you to here in a second, and I've been batting emails back and forth over the last several years, and it's been fun seeing his growth with Carrot. But also, there's one particular email that he sent me, and I read it to my team, and I'm like, guys, this is so awesome because this is a topic that doesn't get talked about a lot. And Dennis and I were talking about right before we hit record that there's a stigma around, do you go full-time? Do you continue to have your job? All those different things. And Dennis has been doing real estate for a long time. We're going to be talking about what it is. And as you're going to see, he still has the job. And I think it's an amazing thing that he does. And we're going to be talking about why we believe that a lot of people should actually be doing that model versus jumping full-time after doing a deal or two. So I want to welcome you onto this podcast, onto the Carrot Cast, Dennis Fassett.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. It's great to finally talk to you in person over the podcast.
Man, and hopefully we can get a chance to meet each other in person someday. That's always one of my favorites. Is there's been so many Carrot Cast guests who I've been able to meet in person. Dave Brown was out here at Carrot Camp a while ago. Tyler Ford was, I think, the last one, and it's like always so fun being able to meet in person. So hopefully we're able to meet you in person one of these days.
Carrot Camp is on my list, but I just feel like I'm one of the little guys compared to these monsters that you have come out. So I'd love to rub elbows with everybody, though. I think that'd be fun.
Dude, that would be, and we got one spot open right now. And that's the funny thing is, I mean, we do have an income qualification, which we'll talk about your business here in a bit. And you massively qualify. And I think the one big thing that I was aiming for with Carrot Camp anyway, is I want to curate amazing people who can all learn from each other. And what we're going to be diving into this one, I think, is a mindset I'd love to have a lot more, even really experienced investors adopt. So before we dig into this stuff, let's kind of set the stage, set the context a bit. So tell people a little bit about yourself, Dennis. Where do you live? Where's your home market? Kind of what's your primary model? Are you flipping? Are you wholesaling? Kind of what's your primary model? And what does your business look like today? Is it just you solo? Do you have team members? Kind of what's the volume? Things like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the Metro Detroit area, Detroit in the suburbs. It's all of 3 counties plus parts of 2 others. I'm a real estate marketer. I'm really not even a real estate investor, actually. I did 77 deals last year, and I can't even say that because I didn't have my name on a single one of them. So my marketing generated 77 deals last year because, like we talked about, I have a full-time job. So I'm a front-end real estate marketer. I focused on that while I work a full-time job. And it's just me, and it's interesting, I've had the kids home for the summer, and I've been exploring other markets and teaching. I taught a couple of my kids how to do the lead processing in a couple of markets. So we're experimenting one of those. And my daughter had paid her in 6 weeks. She got her first check from doing lead processing. I give her a piece of the deal. I don't pay them a salary. I got a piece of the deal. And she got her first check in 6 weeks. She's like, Dad, this is more than I made all last summer. My summer job, between junior and senior year at college. It's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. So it's just me. And again, because I've got a day job, part of my reluctance is I don't want to have people, honestly. I'm the boss at work and I want to kind of limit it, but I'm going back and forth on that right now. So the highlights are Metro Detroit. I'm primarily direct mail, and Carrot are my 2 main sources. I'm in one other market, fairly heavy with a great partner, and I'm starting as I'm looking to expand. I'm looking for stuff that I can do myself. That's really kind of along similar lines. How can I direct mail or stand up a Carrot site in other markets where I've got good partners?
Dude, so let's kind of tackle the elephant in the room first. I want to tackle the job thing, and that was part of the email that prompted this. Is I loved your reply in that email talking about, man, I wish more people would talk about this topic because it's so common right now for the grind culture, for the, that whole thing where it's like, oh, just take the leap and dive in and just leave your job and just go full force in this. And I think there's a misnomer out there that people can't be successful in a business that they're starting as a side hustle from their main job, because they think, well, if you got a main job, you're not fully committed to making this thing work. So what do you do for work? Just so people have context, what is your day job?
Okay, so I've been a job guy forever. I started in corporate finance, investment banking after I got my MBA, and then moved over to IT and then business and program management for the last about 8 years. Mm-hmm. But because I'm a little older, one of my employers that I worked at for the last several years, we had a big bloodletting back in March, and I was laid off. But I went to work as a COO integrator for a local wholesaling company who had been partnering with. I've been doing that now for 5 months, and it's been going really well. And unfortunately, when I had a day job at a company, big company, my hours were much more predictable. Now that I'm COO integrator, it's like I could be working at 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. one day, and then Sundays or whatever, it's kind of all over the place. But for the day job thing, I think from a perspective point of view, we ought to talk about it from a kind of a corporate setting rather than a COO leadership type thing, because that's a relative thing for me. So I haven't kind of figured all that out yet.
Cool. So how did you, I guess, what did that timeline look like? So you've been a career corporate guy until, the past, 5, 6, 7 months, you were working at the wholesaling company, but then how did you then take the leap to go, cool, I have this thing I'm interested in called real estate, and I want to start doing that? What was it? How did you start to carve out time on the side to make that work?
Yeah, I wish it was something that nice, but so long story, right? So I'm a corporate guy based on my upbringing. My mom was, we grew up, my brother, I have 2 brothers and a sister. We joke that we grew up so far on the other side of the tracks, we didn't know there were tracks, right? but they wanted a better life for us. And so my mom kind of grilled us on our homework every single night, do your homework. And the mantra was, do your homework, so you can go to get into college and get a good job. And that's the 3 things she would hammer into us, all of us. So I did that. I followed. And so I went to grad school. I started climbing the corporate ladder, and I finished this big project, gotten all kinds of accolades, got a promotion to director. And so director first rung on the executive ranks. And it's like, as a corporate guy, it's like, I've made it. I am brass ring. That's the first level. I've got I'm at that entry level, and it's off to the stars. Well, unfortunately, that was in September of 2003. Mm-hmm. And I was at an automotive supplier here, and the auto industry crashed in January of 2004.
Gotcha.
So I found myself as the newest director in this company. And because I was the newest director, I didn't have a support system of network or whatever. I didn't have it yet because I had just been a director for a couple of months. And people were running for the lifeboats and protecting themselves. And I looked around, and to give you some background, I had a stay-at-home wife at that point, 4 kids under 9 years old. And we had just taken my mom in to live with us, who had terminal emphysema. We spent $100,000 we didn't have on a big addition on our house. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got these 7 dependents. If I lose my job over this, we are living in a box under a bridge. Trevor, I have never been so scared in my entire life. I had no options. And so I honestly started looking at buying a franchise, but I didn't have the time or the money. I looked at starting multi-level marketing. I looked at every single thing I could, and my wife laughs at me because I still have it as a memento. I tore out the index to the yellow pages. I looked at every entry looking for a business to start. Yep. I was desperate. And I said, as I started reading some books, and I said, okay, the only thing I have time to do is real estate. And so I got my license, and that didn't really work out. And so, but I figured out that there was this investing thing. I was going to buy rentals. So thank goodness. And so in January, February of 2004, I started looking for rentals, and I started from there. And that's what it was, a drive. And I still remember that feeling viscerally today. I'll never let another man control my income. And that's why I've been doing it so long. To have 7 dependents, and I'm thinking that we're on this life raft somewhere, and I without a paddle, the thought, it still gives me chills. And so I don't have, the thing is that before that, it's like, well, why would I do a business? I don't need it. I don't have a why. Now I have a why, and it's right in front of me, and it's very visceral. And so I've never had a problem getting motivated to do this. Never had a problem picking up the phone, talking to people, because I've got this why that's as big as the sun.
Dude,
and so that's why. So
I love that. I love that. And it's something I've been saying for years that as far as for me, and I think a lot of other entrepreneurs are similar, where we oftentimes, not every time, but oftentimes start out to be an entrepreneur because we're running away from something.
yeah,
That's the initial motivation is
yeah.
this current situation I'm in, I don't like. I need to now get away from that. And therefore this business is the savior from it. And what happens is, I'm not sure if we're going to get into this at all. If we don't, that's cool. But what happens is oftentimes once we're away from that thing that we were trying to get away from, many people then hit this little purpose slump. They don't then find their new why, which is, what am I running towards? We'll pick that conversation back up towards the end to see if there's anything you've shifted towards. But
I do have something that's really interesting. Cool. Let's talk about when we get there. But I had another why happen too, which is just crazy. But
before we forget about it, let's talk about it now. So that was your original why. We'll kind of fill in the gaps on how you did those first deals. But what is the why now? What are you focusing on now?
What happened was that, so I didn't lose my job at the auto company, thank God. But we had taken my mom in to live with us, she had terminal emphysema, was given a few years to live, like 5 years to live. And she moved in year 3 of that 5 years. So we took her in, she thought she was going to outlive her money. And so we had built this 900 square foot addition on our house. It's $112,000 or whatever. Thankfully, she lived until 2010. She far outlived her thing, which was spectacular. Having the kids, spend time with their grandmother, it was a really special experience. We used to have an ice rink in the backyard, and mom used to, from upstairs, look and watch the kids skate when they were little. It was really just an unbelievable experience. She declined and ended up passing away from Alzheimer's. And so she had to be in an assisted living facility for the last, I think, 7 months, which is not inexpensive to be in memory care. So she passed away, and we found ourselves, the second why was we found ourselves multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So while I did not lose my job the first time, and I built a portfolio of a dozen rental houses through the crash, and really with a cool model of buying them and refinancing right quickly, because you could do that without seasoning and everything. And I built a bunch of rentals without really any of my money in it. And so I got through that, and it's like, holy crap. My wife and I woke up in 2014, 4 years after my mom died. And it's like, we're making the minimum payments on multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're not making a dent in this at all. Yeah. And, we're a little older. And it's like, I don't want to work forever. And so I said, okay, you know what? I did some wholesaling back in the 05, 06 time. We, could knock off 10, 15 grand a deal. That's pretty good. I need the chunk income now to go along with the rentals and everything else. Again, long story. At that point, I was the boss at my company. I couldn't go out to see properties anymore. That gets into how I created my model. So, it's funny. You talked to Londo the other day, Steve Londo, great friend of mine. He was my first partner, actually. I was talking to Londo, and I said, Steve, I can't get these properties. I'm getting these great leads. So again, I'm a probate and some of the distress stuff. He goes, well, give them to me and let's just split. It's like, duh. I should have been doing that for 10 years. And so, and that was just a major kind of watershed moment in my life. And so I partnered with Steve and then a couple of other guys, and it's been just spectacular since then. That's my model. And so now, like I said, I'm not even an investor. I'm a real estate marketer. I do a ton of marketing every month, every week, actually. I've got 4 partners that I farm the leads out to, and we split the gross assignment fee. So I get to do my part of it in my bunny slippers and my desk if I want to on Saturday. These guys are all traipsing around, but they're pleased as punch, because right now in the market, finding the motivated seller leads is the hardest thing to do.
Yep.
And so I've actually added several other folks, and not that I'm bragging, I'm humbled that other folks have reached out to me and said, if you need other people to work your leads, let me know, because everybody's looking for more lead flows. So that's why I think it's a great model for folks to start right now that have jobs. Because you have people lined up your door. Experienced wholesalers will find you if you can start generating good leads. Man, and that's really the hardest part, finding the partner.
Dude, and that part's really interesting because so Dave Brown, who's been on the podcast a time or two, and he's coming back on again. We're going to be talking about how he's been executing. He's just doing carrot. Like if he had it on other stuff, the lead volume would be even higher. But he gets a ton of leads every month in New York. And he's dominating the New York market in SEO. Right. And so what he posted something on Facebook a few weeks ago, and he basically said, I implemented the plan, over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. He started to get results 6 months in because he was executing like mad, but he's just been going crazy with it. And he's built this momentum to where people in his market are coming to him for all those deals. And he basically said, you know what, I'm going to step out of it even one further. And he just essentially leased the entire website and all the lead flow to one company.
Outstanding.
So he has multiple 5 figures a month and just straight up profit coming through, where they're just handing him over a flat fee every month. I don't know what the amount is, but let's just make it up. Let's say it's $25,000 or $30,000 a month. He's just got a check coming in where he doesn't have to do any work. And
good for him. It's good things. Good when good stuff happens to good people. He's a really good guy. So I've watched his Carrot Cast, and his sites are awesome.
Yeah, they are. And I think the cool thing here, guys, I want you guys to listen to a new model here, right? Not a new model. It's just a different way than a lot of people are thinking. Is number one, I'm going to talk about the actual model, but then we'll talk about how Dennis is also adding even more stability to his life, being able to knock down more debt, but also reduce risk by also having a job, which I think is amazing. Because with this model, he's not having to go out there and meet a bunch of sellers. He's not going to go out there and build a buyer's list if he doesn't want to, other than those that he's directly working with there. He just has to work those relationships, make sure those relationships are strong, and there's good process and ways to verify that they're actually following through with the transaction paying, which I want to get into that in here in a second. And what do you do there? But then he just has to focus on getting leads. And I think a lot of people are going in where they're either just trying to get going, or they're really experienced and they're just getting wore down, where they've got to try to generate leads. They've got to negotiate all the deals. They've got to build the buyer's list. They've got to do this. You've got to do that, which if you want to do that, amazing. That probably is a full-time job at that point.
Exactly. I would agree. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I tell people, it's like, why do you, again, with jobs, why do you want to take on the whole process? I look at this as two things. It's like you said, it's the lead generation, and then it's the back end where you go look at the properties. Why not just pick one or the other, especially if you got a day job, and just focus on one? In the marketing in particular, because again, right in this market, I tell anybody that's listening, I'm trying to scream it from the rooftops: motivated sellers make this world go round, and the guy that finds the leads makes the money. So, wholesalers can't do anything unless they get the motivated seller lead. So if you're good at finding seller leads, you could always get a check somehow.
And we're going to talk about what you're seeing in the market. And we right before this, you were saying, hey, I hope the correction happens fast, because it's hard to wholesale at the top of the market. We're going to get into that, but let me close a couple of gaps for people on some of your model here, because that is a limiting belief I've heard from people is, well, shoot, if I hand these leads over to people, how do I know that they're actually not? They're actually closing on the deals and paying me for them versus them going behind the scenes. Have you had any circumstances like that where you've passed leads to people and they have closed on the deal and they kind of hid and didn't pay for it?
Yes, I had one guy in in the Southwest in Arizona, actually, that he stiffed me on a $16,000 assignment fee once. But I followed it along, and I knew, my fault for going with the guy. I had reservations with him initially, and so we did a couple of small deals, and then he kind of totally stiffed me on this one. But Trevor, if you want to think about it, I've been doing this now since July of 2014, and that's one time it's happened. And so in that market, in the Phoenix market, I knew when it happened. I went and found another guy, and we did, I think, 8 other deals after that with somebody else.
Cool.
So, I don't want to, I'm not Pollyannish about it. Yeah, I was pissed that I didn't get 16 grand, but it's like, I can't do anything about it. I'm certainly not going to, and this is another thing. Well, why don't you sue the guy? It's like, have you ever been in a lawsuit? Oh, it's like, try having to write a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 retainer fee to an attorney to try and get $10,000 or $15,000 back. It doesn't make sense. And so I'm not looking at what I lost, and I'm working on my full-time abundance mentality. I'm not there yet, but I've got that outlook, and it's like, you know what? Yes. Lesson learned, bad mistake, but let's move on. I've got good partners in other areas. And how do I, honestly, Trevor, I don't have a way to monitor. And so my guys here, I don't know, what we do is that we've got their various CRMs and that they give me access to, and so I can track what's happening. But I've got 3 partners here that I work with pretty heavily. I trust them all implicitly. I trust them with my kids. And so we build that kind of relationship. It's building that relationship and really vetting the person that you're going to do business with to make sure that they're good. And the way I did it too, in most of my markets that I'm in. And so I've done, actually, I'm trying to think right now. I think I've done deals in 5 different markets, but I'm only in 3 right now heavily. Okay. 2 other ones other than my own right now. And the way that I started finding partners is that I did We Buy Houses City. I started with the top guy. The top guy is going to should realize that, hey, additional lead flow, I don't have to do the marketing. It's a good thing.
Yep.
And generally that's the case. And so I just went down there and I talked to other people in the market. Hey, how's this guy? How's that guy? And, real estate's a small community. It's easy to go on Facebook and find a group in Des Moines or whatever if I want to check on somebody and find out if they're a dirtbagger or something.
Yeah.
So I just did a little bit of due diligence on my folks and ended up finding some good people. And so, but again, what I want to encourage folks is that if you're always thinking about, well, what if it goes bad? You're going to lose all the benefit on the upside by the small percentage or possibility that it may go bad. So go for it and just, you'll make mistakes. Sure. You'll lose money. You'll get stiffed. So what? You'll make a multiple of it back. And you'll build great relationships.
And it's kind of part of the cost of doing business with that model, right? Yeah. If you look at the other model, if you look at, well, I'm going to handle the transaction start to finish, the cost of doing business there is if you're going to flip it, you could lose money on flips. That's just part of the cost of doing business. You work the numbers wrong or a contractor stiffs you, whatever it is. There's always those things in every model. So just look at those items there. So Dennis, when you're going to do the motivated seller marketing, which that, like you said, that's your model. You are a real estate marketer, and then you get it to people who love the deal part of it, and they close the deals, and you share. And I've done some of that too, where any of the real estate deals other than the ones I'm buying, like the commercial building next door to this, a historical building, we're buying that right now. We're going to renovate it, put apartment upstairs, retail downstairs. That's me. But any of the other deals where I'm actually the guy bringing the lead, I partner with the guy in Birmingham, another guy in Miami, and some other places. It's the exact same setup.
Yeah.
What are you doing to get those leads? You mentioned that you're doing direct mail and you're doing Carrot. Let's kind of unpack that a little bit. So what does your marketing mix look like?
It's actually really straightforward and it's kind of boring. And so, but
the best ones.
Yeah, no, seriously, right? So I started out 14 or 15 years ago doing direct mail. I'm a big believer in it. It's still working great. So I've got the numbers right here if I can look over here. So percentage deal wise, 53% of my deals came from direct mail. 32% came from Carrot. 10% from Facebook and 4% from just cats and dogs, other stuff. Now, interesting though, the revenue though, right? So direct mail revenue, percentage was 53% of the deals, but it's only 45% of the revenue. Carrot, it's opposite, 32% of the deals, but 37% of the revenue.
I love it.
So those are my main channels, right? And so an interesting thing is with Carrot is that, I was looking for a way to expand. And so that was one of my big leaps because I doubled the first 3 years. When I got back in 14, I was looking for something to kind of do that launch to do the next level type of thing. And so, and it's funny that you had Londo on the other day because Londo was the guy who was number one in the market with We Buy Houses. He was number one and he'd been there for years. And it's like, I gotta beat, and he's a friend of mine. So I got to beat this guy. I just got to figure out a way. And so I went in and I thought the city page thing was just the most miraculous thing I've ever seen. So I've got 63 city pages too. And so I went in, I got my main page set up and then, and then I was working with Adrian as well. I think he was with you back then, but I got banned after a month. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember that. Yeah. Yep.
And so because I did something with my Google, my business address didn't match. They just delisted me. And so
that was weird. I remember that very, very vividly because I'm looking at it going, I'd never seen that before. Are you sure that's why they did it, Dennis? And that's the only thing that checked out. It was weird.
Yeah. But I think I was up to the first top 2 or 3 or 4 already. And then I'm on page 97. And so I had to do a new domain name and everything. I started from scratch and got to number 1. And then all my city pages were between 1 and 2 because I was the only guy using Carrot here. And it was like, and then of course I got complacent and more people got it. And I started to fluctuate. But consistently over that time, since I've been on, my Carrot leads converted, my visits to leads is about 12%. So it's clearly way higher than any other channel that I use. It fell here about 6-8 months ago. And you heard the same thing, right? The national guys are going in, they're starting to attack smaller markets, and I've got national guys here too. So I'm now having to work to kind of fight for that turf now again. And so my conversions dropped a little bit, but they're heading back up to about 12%, which is great. And so Carrot is an absolute critical piece of my business. And now what I'm doing is when I go into other markets, I test it with direct mail. And then if I can get a foothold, a traction, I've got traction in one other market. I've just gone and stood up a Carrot site there as well. I'm going to try and use that because again, it's credibility. So my probate site here in my market, I don't get a lot of leads from it. When I do, they're big leads, they're whales, and they're good. But almost everybody I talked to that calls me said that they went to the website. And so it's more of a credibility thing, which is totally worth it. Because they can see me, feel me, or whatever, and they see the about page, then my family and everything. So it makes a lot of sense. But anyway, so again, Carrot's a critical part of what I'm doing out here.
So to kind of break it apart, you had mentioned, okay, you joined Carrot, you got it set up, you started creating location pages or city pages. And that's critical, guys. I mean, when we weren't the first ones ever to do that, but we kind of popularized it and made a system that you could replicate really well in this industry. And so that's where you go into each city, or even we're even going even more niche now, Dennis, especially on the agent side of things, but it works on the investor side of things as well. As when you look at the cities, can you look at neighborhoods? Can you look at certain niches in there? Can you look at, selling my house in divorce in Detroit? That's where you really start to take it even deeper, because most people are going to go, cool, I'm just going to do the city pages, but then they're going to stop there and not go deeper to the situation or the neighborhood or the niches within the city. That's where you're going to, that's where other people are going to get even deeper on that and get great results. I know you're doing a lot of that stuff. And then the next thing is, as he goes in, this is really cool, guys. And guys, I wanted to restate it because it's really valuable. As he goes into a new market, he tests that market with things that are quicker to get results, like direct mail. Because what a lot of people do is they'll launch a page, but it might take 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 months, depending on how competitive the market, to get it ranked number one, and all the time that gets there. I'm like, guys, spin up something that tests the market quick. It could be direct mail, it could be Google pay-per-click, cold calling, whatever your jam is. But test it with something that's quick, that's paid, that you can deploy some cash and get some results, and launch the site there. After you get results, have it be credibility in the short term with your paid method. And then over the long term, then you start to build out your location pages and content on those sites to build up the evergreen content and that momentum, which is really valuable. So one thing you mentioned, Dennis, is that your online deals tend to have a higher average profit per deal. You didn't say it in those words, but that's essentially what your stats showed. That's really common that we see across the board. And are you finding, are there any similarities between the online leads? Obviously, they're more motivated, it sounds like, but are they certain types of sellers? Are they a lot of people who are in probate? Are they a lot of people who are in these other situations? Or are they starting off and there's like, hey, in general, they're just motivated and searching, and there's not one real common reason that they're looking to sell their house?
Well, I found that it's interesting. I do get leads from my probate site, and those leads are generally rock solid when I get them. And they're not the tire kickers. They're folks that want to sell. And so over the last 3 years, it's anecdotal because I haven't done a lot of direct business from it, but they're much bigger deals. I mean, when I get normally I get 1 to 2 whale deals a year, which we're splitting $40,000 to $50,000 assignment fees, which is big for here.
Yep.
They're almost always probates, and they almost always come through my Carrot site.
Cool.
And also they come from a particular city page that ranks really high. And so what I found on a couple of these is that I don't have any competition. I literally have gone into some of these. They found me because I rank high for some probate or some other keywords, and I don't go out to see the houses, but my partner is the only one that they're talking to. And that's another thing where I think is really cool about this model is that I'm doing really niche stuff, which is replicatable by anybody with a job, but that also lets me take the phone calls directly. And so I get good market intelligence, but I also get to build rapport and do a warm handoff to my partner as well. And it works really well. It's over time, you get really good on the phone, or you get good at building rapport with probate sellers or divorce or whatever the niche is or whatever. And then you just keep getting better and better at that. And because I think that, live answer is important, I think, but more than that, I would put myself against a hired live answer anytime because, I handled my mom's estate. I've been in that situation. I can, whatever, what's the word? I can feel their pain or whatever. And I can, relate to them in terms of the situation that they're in. And that builds real solid rapport. And the other thing is that what I found is that, and I know we're a little off topic, but folks try to get people off the phone as soon as possible. I want to keep them on the phone as long as possible because if I get them, again, my record is a little over 90 minutes to have a phone call, but I got the deal. And so if I can keep them on the phone for 40 minutes, my hit rate is about 99% that I get the deal because basically I'm now the guy. And unless my partner drools on himself or makes a 5% of Zillow offer, we're going to get the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so again, a lot of stuff in there.
Dude, that's a really important key too. We've had some of our clients that we're running traffic for, or even just a lot of ones we're not running traffic for, that come to us and say, hey, like you said, the competition got stiffer about 6 to 8 months ago. That's very common. We're seeing that across the country in a lot of different markets. And what they're saying is, man, my lead to close ratio went down, right? And so they were looking at, shoot, is it the ads? Is it the website? I mean, there's certain things you can do on both, of course, to crack through more. Usually it's adding more credibility in the website. That's usually the answer there. And maybe going more broad with some of those keywords on there if you wanted to go into more of those niches. But really, in general, it's usually the credibility in the website is what's causing your lead to close ratio to not be where it was. And then also on the PPC side of things, yeah, you can expand your ad sets and things like that. But in general, it's because there's so much more competition in the market. They have more people to compare against. So what you're talking about there is when a lot of people, like you said, if they try to get them off the phone quickly, where do you think that person's going? You're on a 5-minute phone call with the person. Hey, cool. I'm going to send someone out to look at it later today. They're still in the mode of searching. Going to go back to the Google search, go click the number 2 result, because I've only on the call with this person for 5 minutes.
Right.
2 result, they pick up the phone call and they have a 40-minute conversation. You were the first one that got the lead. The second person got the lead, build more rapport, they win the deal. And so that's really important right now, y'all. So it doesn't matter the competition that's in the market. You do have to adjust some things, and it's not always at the front end. And people always look at the front end, man. They're always like, well, it's got to be the ad, or it got to be the website, or got to be this, or got to be that. But it's usually a mixture of both. You got to look at the back end, the way you're having your calls, the way you're doing your handoffs. Are you answering live? If they're online opt-ins, are you literally getting that text message from Carrot and tapping the darn phone number as soon as you see it, not 10, 15, 30 minutes later? That's going to be the difference in a market like this in a big way. So I want to transition now. So right before we hit record, you were talking about that it's harder to wholesale at the top of the market, and you're pumped to see a correction coming soon. So what are your thoughts on what you're seeing in your local market? Do you see it coming within the next 12 months, sooner than that? Is it kind of a mystery? And why, for those people who are newer or this is their first cycle, why is it harder to wholesale in an up market, and what should they start to prepare for when the market changes?
Well, first of all, don't quit your dang job if you got one. So I saw some. I lived through my job got me through the last crash. So I had it because literally nothing was happening. Because you think it's hard wholesaling at the top, try at the bottom too. There's nothing happens. But so what are we seeing right now? So we saw, it was interesting. It was on fire end of last year, and then I think the Fed raised rates in the December timeframe. I don't remember. It was in there somewhere. I think that. And the market kind of hiccuped, and it was here looking like we were going to start a correction. It stabilized a little bit, and people were like, holy crap, the prices might fall. So we did a ton of business early in the year. It was great. But then as the weather got nicer, the market started to heat up again, and now it's off the charts again. And so people with trashed out houses now want to list. This cinder block house, this crappiest house in this entire city, I got a lead on. It's a probate lead. The thing is, original 1957, literally nothing has been done to this house, and it's a cinder block house. I mean, you couldn't get a worse house than this. Just like, well, I'm thinking about listing. It's like, you are just nuts. But she might get a good offer from it. I can't say don't do that. So what I'm finding as well is that I look at a couple different things. I look at, and this is going to sound wonky, but the manufacturing index and the trucking index. Those have shown real weakness over the last couple of months, and they're trending downward. In actually today, I think, or tomorrow, the University of Michigan releases its consumer sentiment survey. I look at that because we're going into Christmas time, and how are people going to spend money, and how are they feeling about the economy? Mm-hmm. But here in particular, what's happened is that we've got the autos, we've got a couple big banks. And over the last 6 months, they have let go a ton of people in the 45 to 60 range. I mean, thousands of them. So every economy is different. And while nationally it may be doing something, here, the market over 350 is pretty much dead. It's not moving very much. And it may be anywhere else. I don't know. But here, it's not moving at all. And so I'm wondering when that's going to come down further. I think this Fed rate decrease helped extend it a little bit, which is interesting because I didn't think, and again, I don't want to get too much into politics, but obviously you've got opposing forces in the political spectrum right now, and there's a big force going to try and prevent a re-election. And I'm not sure what those opposing forces are willing to do to make that happen. But the economy is in play for this, and so I'm thinking more highly likely that we will get a correction. I'm thinking, again, I don't know anything, Trevor, but I'm thinking second quarter next year. I don't think I don't think what's going to happen. We'll have a lull in the wintertime. I don't think it's going to come back up when it should, kind of in the April, May, June timeframe. I think it's going to just flatten out because we'll have a lot of election malaise, and people are going to be I think people are going to be afraid to see what happens. I think it's going to be another really close one.
And I'm with you on that. When we did our market leaders summit at the start of the year, I was kind of getting people's sentiment around that too. Yeah. That's what we've been looking at for a couple of years. We've said, you can look back on podcasts 2 or 3 years ago. I said in the mid to late 2019 to first half of 2020 is when I've been thinking that there's likely going to be something. In once again, none of us know, guys and gals, so don't take our word for it. Do your own research in your market, because like Dennis said, every market is individual. Right. But at the end of the day, we're at the back end of this just epically long upswing, and they just don't last that long without being artificially propped up in some way, shape, or form. And even after Trump was elected this last round, going into the election, I'm going, geez, he's inheriting this market cycle. Yeah. I think all of us have been, at least I was amazed that he was even able to make it this long without things toppling. And I just think it's just a matter of time before some of the stuff kind of pops a little bit. Some of that debt bubble on the student loan side of things, which your millennials are starting to get to an age where we're not quite in the full center, the full swing of their home buying age. And I think a lot of them are going to be buying some homes, but not as much to the scale as maybe the generation or two before those. So that's going to help prop up housing a little bit. That we're not quite in the full midst of their home buying power yet. Another year or two out, we will be. So that might prop it up a bit. That might have been what helped prop up this last year or two as well. Yeah. But it's going to be interesting, man. So the advice that you're giving people there is even though there's a lot of craze around wholesaling and flipping and all that, it's an amazing business, as Dennis is saying. You just have to be aware of the cycle you're getting into and how to hedge your bets, and keeping your job is one of the great options that you can seriously look at instead of feeling like you've got to go all in.
Well, I think that people have the opportunity right now to learn. There's so much information out there right now, way more than when I started. I was self-taught. So get in and learn right now. So it's, suck up all the knowledge that you can, talk to people, but just understand that it's going to end at some point. And what we talked about before we press record is that I'm getting ready. I've got some money on the side. I'm going to go back and scoop up rentals again, like I did during the last crash. And that's how I'll spend part of my time during a downturn, is buying more cash flow properties after the price corrects. I've got a particular neighborhood I look at. It's the only place I buy. And it's, the prices are way above where I bought them before. And so, but they'll correct, they'll come down. Got some, like I said, private money on the side that's dying to get into the market, and we'll do that. And we'll do some wholesaling as well, because I think it'll still be there. But I tell you, the folks that are quitting their jobs now, it's with all due respect, I'm a libertarian. We can do whatever we want, right? So, but again, it's a suicide mission to do that right now, because we are, I think, in here 2 years from now, we'll say we're ridiculous. But I think right now we're near the top, and I think it'd be a suicide mission to quit your job right now.
Yep, and I'm with you guys, and that's one thing I want you guys to take away from this right here is another model that Dennis is presenting here, right? It's not all or nothing, y'all. It's not I got to go all in away from my job, and I'm going to go all into this wholesaling or flipping thing or land flipping. It's you kind of pick and choose the parts that you enjoy the most, and what Dennis has chosen is he's gone, you know what? I'm going to go in there and be the lead gen guy. I'm going to get the best leads. I'm going to collect those phone calls that come in. I'm going to then build that relationship so they have the best chance of closing. So a lot less of the actual risk is in the handoff at that point. And that's one thing that I do see a lot of people where if they are selling leads, they'll just straight up sell the lead. Yeah. And it might be days before the person even calls them back. But Dennis is taking more of that into control. He's going, cool, I'm answering them live. I'm going to take control of getting the thing set up, and I'm going to make a warm handoff to the people I trust to go on these appointments I'm setting up, or they're setting up. I don't know how that's happening, but either way, it's a quick, easy, simple process. Then that also warrants you for getting more than 25% of the deal. Some people are sharing the leads and they're wanting 20%, 30 or 40%. And Dennis, are you guys splitting 50-50 or what are you doing?
No, 50-50. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, yeah.
And I think that makes sense because you're getting the lead and you're doing the initial qualifying and making it just a nice, warm, easy handoff to them. And that's you're building massive value by investing that time up front with the lead instead of handing it off and going, shoot, why aren't any of these leads turning into deals? It might be because they're not handling them well.
Well, we do it one step further too. When I build these relationships with these guys, we share calendars. And so I'm on the phone with them and say, okay, I'm going to have you meet Joe on Tuesday at 3. And again, and there's always fallout. If you don't do it right then and there, there's fallout. But we do that, and then it's locked in. And then Joe calls him up. Hey, this is Joe. Dennis booked this appointment, and then it's a totally warm handoff, and it works. It's spectacular. And it's so easy to Google Calendar, share Google Calendar. I mean, how hard is that? Right.
Dude, I guys, take that to like those little tips right there. That could be your model the next 1, 2, 3 years is turn into a lead generation master. We will help you do that. We're going all in on content and even helping you guys convert even more leads and standing out more over the next 1, 2, 3 years. We have some amazing features coming out that I think you're going to be pumped about specifically, Dennis, because you are implementing and using our tools. I'm logging into the back end of your site. You're using our rankings tracker to see where your rankings are going up and down. You've, of course, got leads going through there and hundreds and hundreds of leads inside of there. You're using our content marketing system.
Yep. The thing I want to pitch too to people is your 3 lead per day program, top notch. I mean, just the on-page SEO portion of that. If you're not using that, you're not anywhere on ranking wise. That is a spectacular product, and you guys have improved it since I first bought it too. So that is spectacular.
Yeah, we updated it. We make the aim for updating it a couple times a year because SEO stuff does change, and we've got some more updates coming out before the end of this quarter. It's only $100, and that's where a lot of people go, well, shoot, why do you charge for it? The reason we charge for it versus just giving it away is because we originally gave it away back in the day, like years ago, and no one would use it. And so we said, shoot, we're going to charge something that's reasonable that anyone can afford if they actually want to do the work. It's going to be $100. We're going to keep updating because we know if people use this program, this training, they're going to have a higher chance of success. And so guys, invest $100 and invest the time just like Dennis has. Leverage our tools. Go build those city location pages. Leverage our high converting framework so you don't have to go out there and be a conversion rate expert yourself, but then go out there and master generating leads like Dennis has. He's mixed his with direct mail and Carrot. You heard the split before is 50 some odd % of his deals are from direct mail, 30 some odd % are from Carrot. But more percentage of his profits come from Carrot than percentage of his deals come from Carrot. So they're higher margin deals like we always talk about. So Dennis, last question, man, then we'll bounce. I so appreciate your angle on this because I want more and more people to hear this, especially in this phase of the market. But really quick question here is you've got the income to go out there and you're a decently technical guy. You've got the income to go build a custom site yourself. Why are you building your business off of Carrot and our platform versus going out there and trying to reinvent the wheel with something custom?
Well, good question, and the reason is it's the same reason that I used when I created my model, right? So I could have taught myself how to do the back end and go out to see properties, but now I'm working with the best 3 guys in my market.
Yep.
Why do I want to compete with those guys? Right. And so you've got the best product out there, bar none. It's far and away better than anything else I've seen. And I've checked out the other ones and I'm getting the results from it. And so why do I want to compete with you? I don't want to do that because I've seen the performance in the market. I've seen the search results. And it's the same thing. It's like I go with the best guys that I can partner with wholesale wise, and I go with the best website solution. And that's definitely you guys.
I love it.
Yeah, too. I've made serious. I mean, I probably have paid for my great grandkids to use Carrot if they want to keep using it. This has been the deals I've done. We did really well last year with it. So
I love it, man. So 77 deals this past year. You are still a full-time job. You're the COO now of an investment company there locally, but you were in the corporate world for decades before that. Yep. You jumped into real estate really to get away from the fear of someone else controlling your financial future. And you've iterated over the time. Guys, go listen to that part on how he iterated to make sure he was taking full control and having that freedom, getting that flexibility, growing those finances so he can make that impact on his family and generations ahead. So Dennis, I appreciate the heck out of you hopping on the podcast, man. I'm pumped to when we can hopefully meet each other in person.
Absolutely.
And I always love seeing your emails come through because yours are well thought out. You're executing the stuff. Like every single time, it's like, I'm executing this. I'm up against this. What should I do? And you can tell that you've done the research before you ever emailed us. So I'm like, cool. I'm always going to answer Dennis's stuff because they're not gimme questions. They're really good questions. We don't have answers elsewhere. So I appreciate you going executing and using the system, man. It makes me smile.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
For sure. Thank you. Everyone go and rate this podcast episode on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher and wherever the heck else we have this. And also what I want you guys to do is please share this up, especially share it up with someone that you know if they're getting into real estate. Share it up with someone if you know that they're wanting to get into real estate or they just got into it, because I think this thought process could protect someone from potentially going out of business in 6 or 12 months. What if they knew there was another option where they didn't have to do it all? They didn't have to do it all, but they could do part of it. They could do the marketing part of it and those types of things. So open this up to them, guys. Share it up. And Dennis, is there anywhere people can follow you and find out more about you?
Just on Facebook. I'm all over Facebook. So feel free to reach out if you got questions. I'm happy to help. And seriously, for people that have jobs, you can do this. It's a spectacular side hustle that you can do. It doesn't impact your day job at all. It's the best thing I've ever found.
I love it. Well, Dennis, thank you for spending the time with us, everyone. Have an amazing, amazing rest of the week. Talk soon.
Take care.